That $110 million in cuts to state-supported colleges and universities is a blow to schools that were already struggling with declining student enrollment. Statehouse correspondent Jo Ingles talked to some of them and to others who don't get state funding on how they'll come back from this crisis.
Ohio State University students, like those at most colleges, have been taking classes online since mid-March, when the state shut down virtually everything to stop the spread of COVID-19. Now OSU is relying on a task force to determine when and how to come back. The school expects to announce its plans within the next month.
Perhaps we won't have enough classrooms to have everyone back on campus and still do the physical distancing. Perhaps some would have to be online, some in person.
And whatever OSU decides to do, it will be doing it with nearly $15 million less from the state for this fiscal year, which ends June 30th. The OSU football season, which plays a key role in funding the school's entire athletic department, also faces an uncertain future right now. Other colleges that have to rely on tax dollars to operate their sports programs might reduce expenses in the short term, but they could face long-term impacts in other areas. Former OSU football coach Jim Tressel is now the president of Youngstown State University, which will lose $1.6 million. Tressel says the school is also working in groups to come up with plans for returning, including new costs to deal with COVID-19, things like masks and gloves and extra cleaning supplies. Tressel says layoffs are a possibility, and because many of his students need financial aid, he says the school's foundation will need to step up with better scholarships. Plus, he says many students are getting federal assistance.
And the formula that was used for the Federal CARES Act really was kind to universities that have a high level of students that qualify for Pell Grants. I think we might have had the second highest percentage in Ohio of public universities of Pell Grant students. I think somewhere in the 44% range or something.
And the pandemic budget cuts come at a time when higher education was already facing a declining pool of traditional-age students. The council that lobbies for Ohio's state-owned universities says hard decisions are ahead for all of the state schools.
But virtually everyone has lost money during this process. About $171 million in refunds, $290 million in revenue lost between just for this fiscal year. That's not including the $110 million the governor just announced.
Public universities are being cut by 3.8%, which means millions of dollars for large schools such as the University of Cincinnati, Ohio University, and Kent State University, and hundreds of thousands of dollars for smaller schools like Belmont Technical College, Central State, and Stark State College of Technology. Community colleges are taking hits too. Columbus State, which just passed its first tax levy and bond issue, will lose $2.6 million. Cuyahoga Community College, or Tri-C, will lose about $2.7 million. But it's not just state schools that are feeling the squeeze. After 170 years in operation, Urbana University announced its closing at the end of spring semester. The president of Franklin University, Urbana's parent school, says COVID-19 weakened the beleaguered school so much that it cannot recover.
We made a pretty honest effort, I think, to try to save this institution in 2014 until now. But our little boat has just been swamped by this pandemic.
The head of the association that represents private and independent universities doesn't think any other Ohio colleges are ready to shut their doors.
And among our other institutions, we simply do not have any that are treading water just above the line like Urbana had been. But what we do have are institutions that are smaller and have financial pressures of being a small institution. I don't anticipate any of them not making it through this summer. My greater worry is, what does enrollment look like this fall? And if there is a significant cut to enrollment, it could put some institutions at risk.
Some options being considered include reducing class sizes, having professors teach more classes or teach them differently, and reducing staff or maintenance costs. Some private colleges like Otterbein University are already announcing their intentions for fall and changing their focus.
We were already focused on access and affordability. If it's a shrinking demographic environment, then one of the solutions is to get more Ohioans to go to college. And so that means not throwing all your financial aid after students that already have money, family wealth, and have high test scores. We have to make sure we're affordable and do more need-based aid. We need to serve more adult learners and more graduate students and diversify our offerings. We're doing short-term professional development certificates now.
With a modern-day record number of Ohioans now out of work, colleges say they're focusing on helping those workers shift into jobs that require higher education. And they're reaching out to students who plan to go out of state to see if they might reconsider attending a school close to home due to a changing financial situation. But all of the colleges, public and private, say they have a lot of questions right now about what their futures hold. Jo Ingles, Statehouse News Bureau.